Cleveland cop who shot and killed Tamir Rice, guess what, has a new job as a police officer. Timothy Loehmann was hired in Bel Air, Ohio, okay? And the police chief there, Richard Flanagan, said that Loehmann deserved a second chance as a part-time officer. This is the guy who was fired by the Cleveland Police Department for reasons not related to Tamir Rice's death. He was deemed unfit for duty, dismissed for giving false information on his job application. Now, not only this here, Loehmann, now here's the piece. Loehmann was forced to resign from another police department in Independence, Ohio, because he was deemed unfit to be a police officer. I want to go to my panel here. Damn, Eugene. He's unfit in one police department. He goes to a second police department, shoots and kills Tamir Rice, deemed unfit to be a cop, and he gets hired at a third police department. This is why I believe, again, because first of all, people don't realize police officers have to have their peace license.
Yes.
This is where the license to be a cop should be revoked.
Yep.
So you don't have some police chief in some small town going, hey, let me give him a second or third or fourth or fifth chance. No, there should be an independent body that reviews cops like this. They should be able to snatch their license, just like law licenses are snatched, just like cosmetology licenses are snatched.
Yep.
I don't care what it is. That should be the case when it comes to these cops. It is a shame that this man has gotten a job as a cop.
Yeah, I agree with you 110%. I think there are a couple solutions here that need some serious looking at. The first is there should be a board, there should be a system, there should be a national database that keeps track of every single officer, of every single test, every single license, and every single infraction that they have been involved in and with. The second part of that is that when you have officers that commit perjury, that falsify reports, that mess with evidence, that collude to cover up things, there needs to be a mandatory minimum attached to those crimes. That's the message that needs to be sent. I mean, it should be a federal mandatory minimum. There should be a felony. If we entrust you to protect our rights, protect our persons, protect our property, and you violate that and violate our rights, you should lose your rights. And so I think we have to look at some solutions. We absolutely do. I mean, this is the abuse has to stop.
Absolutely.
Avis, again, I mean, I look at these excuses that are being offered by, he deserves a second chance. This man was barely out of the vehicle, not even 5 seconds before he was firing at Tamir Rice.
Absolutely.
This cop, this Timothy Loehmann has no business ever with a badge and a gun. Go get you a job at a convenience store. Go pump gas somewhere. But this man should not be trusted with a badge or a gun.
Absolutely. White male privilege is a hell of a drug. Listen, what happened before, as you mentioned, before he even was hired in Cleveland, in terms of what happened with Tamir, was the reason why he was fired from his previous job specifically had to do with his irresponsible handling of his firearm. And so he was already documented danger before he was hired in that case. And as you mentioned, I mean, as I remember that video, and I remember that video like it was yesterday, because we've had so many tragedies that have happened. But that particular tragedy sticks out in my mind because my youngest son was 12 when Tamir was murdered. And we know that Tamir was murdered when he was 12. And so I'm sitting there watching this video, watching what was clearly a child playing in the park. And Tamir, in my estimation, in terms of just looking at the video, was the victim of a drive-by shooting, okay? Tamir was killed before that car came to a complete stop. All right? This man is irresponsible. He is, in fact, a murderer. And if they didn't have the guts to do what needed to be done in the wake of Tamir's death, it is especially beyond disappointing. I would argue that it is sort of angering that you have this other police department that is willing to let this danger to the public back on the public's payroll. Just to think about it, taxes. People's tax dollars are paying for a murderer to go out there and have a third chance to kill again.
You know what, Michael? I would hope the citizens of Bel Air, Ohio, rise up and go to their city council and say, tell this chief to send him packing. We don't want this man who has been deemed twice unfit to serve being even a part-time cop in our city.
Well, Chief Flanagan should be ashamed of himself. I mean, that's just silly season there. But I want to go back to your previous guest and the chief of police, and I forgot his name. I remember Chief Flanagan.
Chief Morgan.
Chief Morgan. I have a couple questions. One, who shot her is A, because he never really said what happened.
Yeah.
And two, since she clearly has these kind of views about people of color, were all of her cases reopened? Maybe I'm over-lawyering it, but it seems to me that she has a tendency to not care about people of color. So what happened to all those cases in her history? Are they reopening them? Is the DA looking at them again? And maybe you have some people that are innocent that were found guilty by crimes that she perpetrated on them. So it'd be interesting to find that out. Again, I don't know if Chief Morgan has looked into that. I know you were having some technical difficulties, but I was just curious about it. Again, A, was she shot? Who shot her? And B, were her cases reopened?